Guys, after studying the centrosome in your NCERT first year book biology, now we are heading towards one of the most important cell organelle to whom you call as nucleus. तो आज हम केंद्रक के बारे में पढ़ेंगे जो कि बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट सेल ऑर्गेनेली है और आनंद लूटिए। देखिए क्या कहता है, यू सी नन ऑफ द सेल either it is prokaryote or eukaryote. In prokaryote, a very primitive type of a circular DNA or incipient nucleus is found. But in advanced cell eukaryote, there is a definite, well-organized nucleus is present inside the cell. And that is why we call them eukaryote, due to the presence of true nucleus. And what is the important feature of true nucleus? That it is always surrounded by nuclear membrane. Okay, genetic material is now protected well by a nuclear membrane, and that is why it is called as eukaryotic nuclei and cell, eukaryotic cell. Now the nucleus in animal kingdom, you see, the largest cell organelle is your nucleus because it occupies most of the part of the cell. But in case of the plant particularly, you know, chloroplast is much more bigger than that of your chloroplast. काफ़ी बड़ा होता है वो. Now, largest cell organelle in the animal in the eukaryote. Okay. Now let us just think about what the nucleus is and what are the important headline to study the nucleus is before you. The first one is discovery, and keep focus on the point which are important for your exam. Right? Occurrence, number, and then position and shape and chemical composition, and I think ultrastructure 7th, and the last one is function. Okay, under these following head you can have a whole material related to study of nucleus. Let us know one by one. If you see the structure here clear cut, I will tell you later on that it is bounded by two membrane या double membrane. That nuclear envelope made up of two membrane, outer membrane and inner membrane. Always remember, these two membranes are not continuous. Okay, they are discontinuous due to the presence of complex nuclear pore. ठीक है, you may ask what is the function of nuclear pore, that I will tell you later on. Now you see, outer membrane is also continuous with RER, यानी rough endoplasmic reticulum, and it because it contains large number of the ribosome and they can have protein synthesis. So naturally, if some protein is required inside the nucleus, so naturally that will be easily provided by the lumen of the endoplasmic reticulum having ribosome. Okay, and SER also there. Now these nuclear pore are very important in the communication between the nucleoplasm and cytoplasm. You see, a both way traffic. Some important raw material will enter into the nucleus, and very important part nuclear will also give some information to cytoplasm. So there is a exchange of materials and as well as information between the two components, cytoplasm and nucleoplasm. And because nucleoplasm is controller, so whatever we need to have control the cell, that will be provided, or information will be provided by the nucleoplasm. Okay, so that is why the entire material present inside the nucleus, that is your nucleoplasm. Okay, here. And these are the nuclear pore which are complex in structure, not an ordinary, very highly complex structure that I will tell you in the CSIR NET class. Okay. Now, in between the two membrane, there is a clear cut, the intermembrane space is also there, and that help in the exchange of internal material to the nucleus. Okay, inside the nucleoplasm, because it is highly hydrated, maximum water concentration is present. Normally in a somatic cell, we cannot see the chromosome like that. Only nucleoplasm there, and that show the staining of the chromatin, and we call it as a chromatin network. Yani nucleoplasm contain chromatin network, and at the time of a cell division, after interphase, and the same nucleoplasm will convert into chromatin network and chromatin of further dehydration, it will produce thread-like structure to whom you say chromosome. Ultimately, the two most important functions, either to control the cell metabolism or at the time of cell division, they modify into thread-like chromosome. Okay, so now you see clearly a very simple structure of the nucleus drawn over here. See, nucleoplasm, the matrix of the nucleus, an envelope already two membranous and having a nuclear pore for the exchange of material between cytoplasm and nucleoplasm. Okay, now let us see one by one. Your important question: who discovered nucleus? Remember, nucleus was for the first time discovered by Robert Brown 1831, and in what? In orchid root cell. So very important question for you, that the nucleus for the first time was discovered in A, B, C, D. Okay, your answer is orchid root cell. Okay, now the occurrence. You see, where do they find the nuclei? Nuclei occur in all the eukaryotic cell. ठीक है, either they are plant or the protista or a fungi, ठीक है, or animalia. All the four kingdoms possess eukaryotic nuclei. Okay, another very important question for you: nucleus absent in case of the angiosperm in the sieve tube. If I draw a diagram over here, this, suppose, let me have a green pen. This see, here the sieve tube is there. Okay, and now this one is the companion cell. Okay, which having nucleus, but in the sieve tube there is no nucleus. So that is why you can see the metabolic function is controlled by the companion cell, but sieve tube itself have no nucleus. The only cell in the plant kingdom or in the angiosperm possessing no nucleus, and that is your sieve tube. Okay, and in case of the animal kingdom, the mammalia particularly, RBC do not have nucleus. Whenever there is a high speed or a maximum rate of a function is required, so naturally nucleus in the beginning at the time of formation is there, but in the mature cell that disorganizes and no further is required. And the same thing is also because RBC is a major hemoglobin content holder and it requires maximum hemoglobin to just carry the gases exchange. So that is why nucleus is disorganized. So RBC no nucleus, but WBC they possess. Okay, so this is a very important question for you: absent in sieve tube and absent in RBC. The next topic, number. ठीक है, usually जो है in a normal somatic cell of the human body or the plant body, they all possess only one. You can say uninucleate cells are there. Single cell have a single nucleus to control the cell metabolism. Now let us some variations are there. Binucleate organism or a cell. Binucleate organism you clearly see in protista, particularly paramecium. One nucleus is macronucleus, other is micronucleus. Micronucleus is very important because that is the most important nucleus and for metabolic function. And Bilentidium, that is another protozoan and also possesses two nuclei, macro and micronucleus. Now you see, in a plant kingdom, if you see the structure of the neck cell of a fern, archegonium, and the typical cell of the archegonium of the fern that possesses two nuclei, very important point. So the apical neck cell of the archegonium of the fern have binucleate cell. Okay, another very important point, multinucleate cells are. There are number of cells are there which possess more than one nuclei for controlling their cellular metabolism. Now let us see one by one. Bone marrow cell possess many nuclei. Okay, another very important point, why do they have so much nuclei? That is a question for further detail. But striated muscle, they do possess, where the activity is much more required for control, the number of nuclei increases. And latex vessel also have multiple nuclei in case of the plant. Okay, and Vaucheria is a green algae, cynocytic algae, and that also possesses multinucleate thallus. Okay, mycelium. And in case of cynocytic mycelium, in Phycomycetes, aquatic fungi, their mycelium made up of the hypha, and those hypha do not have any septa. Aseptate and multinucleate structure are there. And lastly, I would like to add, that is your syncytial epidermis. If you see the transverse section of the Ascaris, a nematode, in that epidermis becomes multinucleate. Very important question. So these all are important questions for you for your competitive examination. Okay, related to the number of nuclei. Now let us come to the fourth heading, position. Normally जो है in a cell, it is present inside the center. Usually nucleus present in the cell, but in the center, but in the glandular cell which I have to produce, there the nucleus is present at the base. So basal in glandular cell, normally in the center, and peripheral nucleus is present in case of the plant, particularly green algae, where the nucleus is pushed by cytoplasmic stent towards the periphery, and as a whole composite with multiple stent form a very nice structure that is called primordial structure, utricle. Remember, primordial utricle, large number of the vacuole due to the presence of cytoplasmic stent and hang over the nuclei on one side. That is called primordial utricle in case of Spirogyra. Bum, harium. Next heading is shape. Take round in shape. Normally you see here. In case of animal, it is round in shape. Okay, and in plant they are elliptical, rather slightly bent. And in case of the WBC, as I will have told you, they have lobed nucleus, bilobed, trilobed. So that is not just a continuous. And in case of eosinophil, basophil, neutrophil, lymphocyte, monocyte, they all possess lobed nucleus. So question is, in which of the following lobed nuclei are found? Question 1. And in which elliptical? Answer is plant. And in which round? Answer is animal. Okay. Another very important question, branched nucleus. This is characteristically found in the spinal cell of the spider. Okay? This is highly branched. And important question for you, branched nuclei in case spider spinal cell. So this heading is also okay. Now the next one is chemical composition. If we just see the dry cell, what are the chemical composition or component present in the nucleus? That we see one of the important. First, the most important and the major component, that is the protein. 70% protein are there, and these protein may be acidic or may be basic. As you know, the DNA cannot be imagined without the basic protein, histone protein. So they are basic, and some acidic proteins are also there around the DNA. And phospholipid is very important to have nuclear membrane. So this is another component, 3 to 5%, and DNA is the major hereditary material in the nucleus that constitute 9 to 12%. And while in case of RNA, it possesses 2 to 3%, because it is prepared or is synthesized in the nucleus and migrate to the cytoplasm for the further activity, either mRNA or rRNA or tRNA. Ultimately, they are synthesized inside the nucleus. So their concentration component 2 to 3%. Another very important mineral. Now the most important is your phosphorus, and potassium and magnesium and manganese and sometimes calcium are also present there. Now the next one is ultrastructure of the nucleus. Take in your NCERT book, as I have drawn this diagram here. Now you see one by one what are the important ultrastructure of the nucleus are there. Now let us see one by one. Interface nucleus is a nucleus which is not dividing. That is called interface nucleus, not undergoing cell division. Okay, and it possesses a double membrane. As I will told you, outer nuclear membrane, inner nuclear membrane. ठीक. Now the nucleus made up of nucleoprotein fiber का बना हुआ होता है, made up of fiber, and these fibers are called chromatin network या nuclear matrix. ठीक है, integrated material present nuclear matrix, and that is stain, dark stain, chromatin stain, and that is why called as chromatin network is there. Take. And another very important point in the nuclear matrix, presence of granular, a globular structure without membrane. They are one or more nuclei. ठीक है, न्यूक्लियाई जो होते हैं, न्यूक्लियोलस है न्यूक्लियाई प्लूरल, आइदर वन और मोर, दे आर नॉन मेम्ब्रेनस. ठीक है, यानी ऑर्गेनेली विद इन द ऑर्गेनेली इंट्रा सिक न्यूक्लियर मेम्ब्रेन. न्यूक्लियर एनवलप, एज आई विल टोल्ड यू, इट फॉर्म्स ए बैरियर बिटवीन साइटोप्लाज्म एंड न्यूक्लियोप्लाज्म। सपोज और बाहर की तरफ क्या है, साइटोप्लाज्म, हियर क्या है, न्यूक्लियोप्लाज्म। सो दिस इज द बैरियर बिटवीन द साइटोप्लाज्म एंड न्यूक्लियोप्लाज्म विच कॉन्स्टेंटली कंट्रोल द ट्रांसफर ऑफ दिस वेरियस सब्सटेंसेज. You need raw material, they will be provided by the cytoplasm, and if you want to control the cell, the all information will be provided by the DNA. So naturally mRNA will move from nucleoplasm to cytoplasm, and raw material will be produced from cytoplasm to the two-way traffic जो है, it is barrier and controlled, not at random. Boom. Outer nuclear membrane, as I already told you, is also continuous with ER. And if they possess ribosome over the surface, it means if actively protein synthesizing cells are there, so they will have a continuous outer membrane into the RER. And because high speed proteins are required, so the lumen can easily provide nuclear protein through the RER. Okay. Nuclear envelope discontinuous due to complex nuclear pore or continuous with the RER for protein synthesis. Nuclear matrix होती है, also one or more nucleoli are there, and nucleoli are the site of ribosomal RNA synthesis or ribosome protein production. All are very important because without rRNA you can't imagine ribosome, and other tRNA are also synthesized in the nucleus. Okay, ultimately जो है we are coming to the functions of the nucleus. Okay, there was scientist Hammering, and he conducted experiment in a stable area, and normally nucleus is present at the base of the unicellular green alga, and that is responsible for the morphological shape of the cap of the stable area and determined by the nucleus. So for the first time this experiment was conducted to say that nucleus is responsible for the morphogenesis or the growth of the stable area, and so for the other cells also. Now the first is control all metabolic function. Which one? Nucleus. And control hereditary trait. You see the various types of cells in your body, in the plant, either epidermis or colon-chyma. In animal you see muscle cell, liver cell, kidney cell and spleen cell. They all have nucleus, but all possess different types of function. And because this is due to their differential function, and this is why cell control so many hereditary traits, either to have an anabolic reaction or a catabolic reaction or a synthesis. Take cell reproduction is a very important property of the nucleus, and cell cannot divide or cannot survive without nucleus. If you remove the nucleus, and it will die within 5 or 6 minutes. Okay, and cell can also not divide without the nucleus. Nucleus is responsible for the equal division, and you say mitosis or you may meiosis, and these all are properties due to nucleus. Okay, and growth and development, this is also a single, our body is produced from a single cell zygote, and we 10 to the power 14 cells are there in our body. Now just imagine how do this nucleus play a wonderful role during the embryonic development of the human body. Okay, and they are also very responsible for the morphogenesis, either 3 germ layer, and all having the different function in their germ layer to form organogenesis, also the property of the nucleus. Okay, and site of mutation, the last one we are heading toward. Nucleus is also responsible for the speciation, to change. Normally we do have the same Homo sapien 2 is equal to 46 chromosomes, but even then we are not the same. And these all variations are produced by the nucleus, and sudden hereditary change, so-called mutation, are also due to nucleus. Okay, so now in a summary you can see the nucleus very clearly, either their discovery or occurrence, okay, or their number or position or a shape or chemical composition, okay, or their function produce variation. The last one is produce variation from species to species, and the speciation is the beauty of evolution. Thank you very much. This is all for today. Nucleus.